weekend. It is just, we are recording this session because there's some people who just simply couldn't make it because of the timing. If there's something that you want to ask or share that you're uncomfortable with to be recorded, just say, I want to share, and we are more than happy to pause the recording, right? It doesn't have to be recorded unless you're comfortable with it. So it's just more for information purpose. So the objective of today is to share with you a little bit about the school for those of you who are not familiar, and then about the graduate diploma in coaching psychology, which personally I'm very excited about. I do think coaching is one of those incredibly valuable skills to have, and we will discuss that later. I have my colleagues here with me today as well, which always makes me feel really supported and cared for. We have Kim, one of our consultants. So again, please feel free to message Kim. We've got Sky here as well, another one of our consultants. I see Alex hiding behind trees, so he's here too, and Pat. So yes, please feel free to reach out to anybody from TSPP, or just unmute yourself. It's a casual conversation. There's not that many of us. Okay. All right, let's get started. Just because everyone okay seeing my slides, please let me know if you're seeing some weird thing on my screen and not my slides. It's always a good thing to know. Okay, so just briefly, I know most of you are familiar with TSPP, but for those of you who don't know, we're based in Singapore. We're Singapore born. We're the local brand established in 2007 by founder Stefan Liu and Patricia Go. And how it all started really was Stefan, who's a psychotherapist, and he went to visit IMH, and IMH at the time was building more wards and more beds, and they were showing everybody this new space that they have, this incredible space, and everybody was clapping, and Stefan just had this moment where he thought like, wow, how are we going to stop people from actually ending up in this beds, right? And so he got excited about this whole idea of elevating well-being and helping people become their best selves, and also preventing people from ending up in those spaces. So that's how this was started, with a lot of passion and a lot of vision and a lot of care. So yeah, so we've been around for a while. Since 2007, as I said. We have had a lot of students. We kind of cover psychology across the continuum of like -10 to +10, looking at psychotherapy and counseling, mental health issues, but then also not stopping at that point where people just kind of feel okay, but they're not living their best lives. So our goal is really to be able to address and meet people wherever they're at on this continuum. And as you can see, some of our students who graduated and went back to their own countries, like Hong Kong and Philippines, have started sharing and spreading the ripples of positive psychology as well as psychology. We're very proud to work with our friends in the Philippines, and we have worked together to now set up a Philippine positive psychology network, which is very cool, and we're still working together a lot on that. So just briefly, again, I don't want to spend too much time on that. We are a private education institution, and we are governed by CPE in Singapore, just like any other private educational institution. And all our courses are accredited by them, as well as our lectures. And, obviously we follow and adhere to those rules. We are also partnering with some universities for our master's programs. So our postgraduate level students can enroll in the second year of master's programs at ARU, as well as University of East London, for applied positive psychology and psychotherapy and counseling. Some of our faculty, so some of you already know me, and I do love teaching, and I do love connecting with my students. And one thing that we are proud of is our faculty, because they're not just and I know this is going to sound bad, and I'm not judging, I promise, I'm not judging, but our faculty are practitioners in their own right, meaning they're out in the world and they're trying things out, and they're trying to see what works, what doesn't work, and how that can be translated into Singapore cultural context. And for us, that's really important. It's not just about the books. Yes, everything has to be based on science and everything has to be grounded in those theories. However, we need to figure out how we can apply it. And that's what we really want to do. So our programs are experiential, and our programs are really for practitioners to have confidence and competence to be able to apply things in their own contexts. So this is just some of our faculty. And that's it. I'm not going to spend too much time on the school because I want to make use of this time and answer all your questions. So we are introducing the Graduate Diploma in Coaching Psychology, GDCP, because we love our acronyms. And I will take you through the program a little bit just to inform you. I have to say this has been in the making for quite a while for us because we really wanted to fine tune it. We wanted to create a robust program that integrates not just coaching skills, but also psychology and positive psychology, because that is the foundations of the school as well. And we wanted to make sure that when we're developing and designing this curriculum, we really have the faculty who are experts across all those fields. And I'm proud to say that we have an amazing team, and yeah, it's going to be fun. So let me take you a little bit through it. But before we do that, I'm just curious, what is coaching? Okay, so looking at this grid, okay, where would you place coaching? Please, please feel free to unmute or put it in the chat. Would you place coaching under 1, 2, 3, or 4? Where do you think you would place coaching on this grid? Anybody have a thought? It takes courage to guess and to take those first steps. Where would you put coaching? 2. Okay. Okay. Great. Why? Can you let me know why? Why did you decide 2 was a good place to put coaching? Do you want to unmute or just put in a chat? You're absolutely right. And I'm just curious why you chose 2. Yeah. So you're right. So coaching is a facilitation, okay? Coaching, you ask a lot of questions. A coach is a thinking partner, your thinking partner, okay? So yeah, absolutely. You know, spot on. So you're obviously already in the know with these things. It's your solution focused as well. So let's have a look at where, you know, if you were to put all of these on the grid, where they would sit. So if, as you can see, when we are asking, right, we're asking for solutions versus, for example, in counseling, you're sort of asking around the problem. What problem do you want to solve? You know, what's the problem that you're dealing with right now? You know, how can we work together to make that problem less in your life? Right? When you become a consultant, and I'm sure some of you are already consultants in your life, it's really about, okay, what's the problem? And let me tell you how you can fix that problem, right? This is the approach that consultants usually have. Mentoring, you know, there's more of that higher power as a mentor. So as a mentor, you come with certain expertise, and you're really there to teach someone to think of solutions, for example, in that industry and something that you're familiar with. But coaching really is about equal power. Okay, a coachee and a coach, there is equality. You're working together. A coach always enters a session with a belief system and a mindset that a coachee has all the solutions. And it's your job as a coach then to help them see the solutions that work for them best, not by telling them how to do it and what to do it, but by asking powerful questions and guiding them through this process of discovery. And this is what makes coaching really exciting, okay? Because I could never generate the solutions that are meaningful to my coachee. Only they can do that. And then they follow the path, right? They're more motivated because there's autonomy in that. And when you generate your own solutions, when you make those choices for yourself, there's autonomy, there's empowerment, there's ownership. And a good coach allows the coachee to walk away knowing more about themselves, understanding themselves more, and being able to take meaningful actions that take them towards where they want to be. Oops, sorry, wrong way. Why am I going? Okay, sorry. That's really interesting. Technology, love it. So coaching, so it's there to expand and evoke self-awareness for the coachee, right? That's your job. You're facilitating, as you rightfully said, Gia, you're facilitating positive change by expanding thinking. So you're someone's thinking partner, right? You're there to support them, but you're also there to challenge them and challenge their own thinking. Okay, and this is where having a deeper understanding of human behaviors and psychology can become really helpful. So you as a coach can actually see where a coaching might be stuck, and you can develop and you can create and come up with questions that are more meaningful, right? So help people to think better, development and learning, and future focused. Okay, so that's basically, it does not mean that in coaching session, you might not explore the past, you might, but you might be asking questions such as, when was the last time in the past that you did feel confident? What happened to make you feel confident? Who was around you? What were you thinking? What were you doing? So you're trying to get them to look for exceptions where they were and then inspire them to do that again. Okay, we can talk a lot more about coaching as we go along. Sorry, getting carried away. So this is the Graduate Diploma in Coaching Psychology overview. It is robust because not only does it cover the basic coaching skills, like I said, it goes beyond that. So usually coaching courses would be anything between 60 and 80 hours, sometimes to 100, but this is 121 lecture hours, contact hours with experts. And the reason we have decided to do that, because to be a good coach, to be an excellent coach. There's lots of good coaches, as Robert Brisbane would say, but there's a very few excellent coaches. And to be an excellent coach, it takes dedication and it takes support by other people and practice, 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 right? And we wanted to ensure that our students don't feel left alone in the world to do their own thing, but to be really, to feel supported. Okay, and like I said, it integrates different areas of psychology, and I'll take you briefly through these modules. May I please invite you to stop me at any point if you have immediate questions that are relevant to what I'm saying, because I don't want you to forget the question towards the end of the session, and I don't want you to where it's no longer relevant for you. So please, please feel free to ask questions, unmute yourself, and just stop me. I welcome interruptions. Okay, I'm not attached to my content. So coaching foundation, I just saw a spelling mistake. Dear, sorry, everybody, that's my fault. Not detail orientated. Detail is not one of my strengths. Coaching foundation is 28 hours. Okay, so the coaching foundation really is the foundation of how do you develop a coaching mindset? How do you create a contract with your coachee? So that you are fully set up to start your own practice. What is a coaching, the elements of a coaching session? How do you set the agenda? how do you clarify the agenda with the coachee if they're not sure? Because sometimes coachee will come to a coaching session and they're not 100% sure what they want to achieve in the coaching session. And it's really important to make sure that that's nailed from the beginning. Otherwise, you can't take them to where they want to be. And that takes skills. Diving into micro skills, such as how do you ask what are powerful questions and what are not powerful questions? How do you stay present? How do you engage in active listening? Okay. How do you use your body language to encourage somebody to feel comfortable? How do you set a safe space? All of these things and topics will be covered in Coaching Foundation, which will be taught by an amazing man, Sam, who has tons of experience coaching for decades. He's a PCC certified ICF coach, and he will be there to guide you. And he will also be taking you through ethics and mentoring, which is a very important part of this course. So ethics and mentoring, okay. Again, it is ICF standards, okay, and it's very important, and it's different from psychotherapy ethics. It's around because the relationship is different between a coach and a coachee. So it's important to really dive into this. What is your responsibilities as a coach? I mean, for some of you, you already probably know this already. And, obviously this is something that needs to be covered. It is something that's really important to us as a school, but also to the industry. Now, as some of you might know, coaching as a profession is not regulated yet. And there is a big yet around it. In UK, for example, they're already starting to regulate coaching. We cannot allow for coaching to become that anybody can be a coach, where you do a couple of YouTube videos and some online self-paced course, and then suddenly you can call yourself a coach. These days you can, right? You can. But we have a responsibility towards our coachees. We have a ethical responsibility to ensure that we are being professional and that we're bringing to the table evidence-based strategies and knowledge that can help people rather than hinder their well-being. And this is why this module is very important. Like I said, you will have mentoring sessions as well. It'll be 10 to 15 hours. I put 10 here, but it can be stretched out. You will have one-on-one mentoring sessions and you'll have group mentoring sessions. A lot of other courses expect their students to find their own mentors and to chase their own mentors, but we want to make sure that we're supporting our students, and we will be here to support you with that, and Sam will be doing the mentoring. Another module, which some of you already know, is the applied positive psychology. Why? Does it have anything to do with coaching? No, and yes. Okay. I believe that our responsibility as a coach is to also have self-leadership. Applied positive psychology module, as you can see, will give you the foundations of what is well-being, what is optimal human functioning, how can you apply that for yourself and others? Because when we talk about positive psychology coaching, which I'll talk about in a minute, there's a lot around well-being and optimal human functioning. How do you take, it's not just about performance. A lot of coaching is around career coaching and performance. Positive psychology coaching and the psychology part goes beyond just performance. It's about what does this individual need to be at their best self. And applied positive psychology module will give you that foundation of having that understanding, and then you can tweak those concepts and use them in coaching session. For example, high quality connections, sources of meaning. For those of you who have done the module, will know that you can apply those across different contexts as well as in coaching. So if you bring that coaching mindset to the module, you will be able to make those connections. Okay. And I think that's important. Coaching psychology, it's interesting because there's still debates about what is actually coaching psychology. Okay. And if you look it up, you will find different sections around it and definitions. Coaching psychology, the way that we are looking at it, is not just about coaches doing research and looking at what is the best evidence-based strategies to, let's say, conduct a coaching session, but it's also looking at how are we innately wired as human beings? What motivates us? How do we handle emotions in a coaching session? Not just coachees' emotions, but your emotions as a coach. If you get angry as a coach in a session, you need to know what to do with that anger, because you're there to support your coachee, and knowing your own emotions and what your own triggers are and how those emotions need to be handled in that moment is crucial for you to be able to be there for your coachee. And we find that a lot of courses do not look at this idea of self-leadership as a coach. And this module will look at that, and will look at, you know, understanding yourself, what triggers you, right? As someone who has been in domestic violence, or as someone who has had different experiences in my life, how do those experiences show up in a coaching session? And what do I need to do if those emotions come up for me? And interestingly, that's really important, right? Again, neuroscience, how we innately wired, what can we do about it? Experiential learning is a big thing. Okay, so in the School of Positive Psychology, we have adopted an educational model called Live It to Learn It. We believe that to learn it, you have to live it. So there will be a lot of experiential stuff. It'll be run like a workshop, okay, this module. And you will be going yourself through processes so that at the end of this module, you have grown as an individual, not just as a coach, but also as a human being. And then we have Robert Biswas-Diener's module. And Robert is one of the pioneers of positive psychology coaching, coined the term, let's put it that way, okay? What is it? It's really concerned with the enhancement of optimal functioning, like I said earlier, more so than just performance. Positive psychology is grounded in the strengths-based approaches. And as a practitioner myself of strengths-based approach, and I've shared this with my students numerous times, people don't know their strengths. Leaders, C-suites don't know their strengths. Okay. Oh dear, what's happening here? Sorry. I just need to stop share for a second because something has popped up on my screen, which I'm not quite sure. So leaders don't know their strengths. How many of you, besides the ones that have done positive psychology, can with confidence identify your own strengths, explore your strengths, apply your strengths? Okay, so knowing your strengths as a person that I bring to the coaching session as a coach, what are the strengths that I use as a coach? How do I help my coachee see their own strengths? And how do I encourage them to activate those strengths to help them reach their goals as well? So, this is the kind of the foundations of positive psychology. And this obviously is translated into the coaching session as well. I'm so sorry. Let me just get rid of this thing that has popped up on my screen. Okay, that's better. When you have good technology days and bad technology days, I'm not having a good technology week this week. So we're going to be integrating positive psychology tools and interventions into coaching practice. And when I speak to Robert about this module, his main thing is confidence, competence, and a rich toolbox. You never know as a coach when you will have to pull out a tool with a different coachee, depending on the situation. Do they get stuck? Do you need to get creative in the way that you shift somebody from being stuck in their own thinking patterns? Right? How do you get them? How do you motivate them? How do you use, for example, tools, like tangible tools, to also get them thinking in a different way? And this is what's really exciting about coaching, because it encourages you to be creative, to get someone else to be creative with their own thinking, right? And it's quite inspiring, and when you get it right, it's so rewarding. So some of the few things that are unique about the graduate diploma in coaching psychology comparing to, let's say, other courses. Well, first of all, it's an accredited academic course. Okay. It is, so basically you will walk away with a graduate diploma in coaching psychology that you can then put on your CV, right? It's as opposed to a coaching course. It's looking at coaching through the lens of psychology. And I think that makes it unique and different, and I'm really proud of that. I think that idea of leadership for self and others, knowing yourself, expanding yourself as a human being so that you can show up in a different way as well as a coach. I sincerely hope that each and every student will have big growth for themselves going through this program as well. And again, focusing on this optimal human functioning rather than just performance. It's looking at human beings as holistic and seeing how, what matters to them. How can we elevate their well-being? And it might not be just through performance. It could be through building better quality relationships, having more meaning and purpose in life. It could be finding more moments of joy that we spoke about, right? And that's what we need to understand better to become better coaches. Um, yeah, I'm just being mindful. I just want to stop and have a discussion and have questions from you uh, about any of the modules or the content or just coaching in general. I think that would be more meaningful than me rambling on further. May I invite you to ask questions, put them in the chat. Kim, jump
Yes.
in.
Yeah. Hi, Yana. There are a few questions from Yati. I've already placed them in the chat. If you could look at them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How is ICF different from NCDA? I'm not overly familiar with NCDA, to be perfectly honest. It's not just a coaching accreditation. NCDA, to my understanding, is a professional accreditation for different things. You might know more, Yati, about NCDA, but it is not the go-to for coaching program certifications that I'm aware of. Is there anything that you know more about it than I do, and why you're curious about NCDA?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh yeah, because I actually attended kind of counseling, like coaching programs by NCDA. So I just want to know what's the difference. Of course that counseling is career counseling, but when we do counseling, we are also kind of coaching our clients to the career direction that they want to go to. So I just want to see if there's any overlap between ICF and NCDA.
I'm not sure. I cannot answer that. I'm not 100% sure what
Okay.
NCDA is doing. However, I can answer to you that our program does not focus on counseling. It focuses on coaching, and we have a clear distinction between the two. We also run psychotherapy and counseling. So for example, let's say you have school counselors who do career counseling for students, or you might have career counselors, and they tend to give advice. Okay, they tend to provide opportunities. They tend to provide information around that, and that's my understanding of career counseling. When it comes to coaching, is a lot different, because a coach doesn't give advice. A coach doesn't. The coach will encourage the coachee to go and search for their own education pathway rather than suggesting an education pathway for them. They will ask them questions that will clarify for the student where they want to take their own learning journey, and then they will encourage them to research that for themselves and come back and share what they have found and how they feel about that learning journey. So yes, we do coach people around careers, but we don't counsel people around careers. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's just that the word coaching and counseling are sometimes used in many areas. Like, for example, you have coaches for leaders, and then you have coaches for, like you mentioned, counseling for students. So sometimes a bit gray. So I just want to be clear that part. Thank
No,
you
I
so
think,
much.
yeah, I think it's a really good question, and it is gray, and a lot of people, I'm not clear about the distinction, but the way that ICF sees it and the way that we see it as well in coaching psychology, there's a very clear distinction between the two. And like I said, most important one is a coach has to suspend giving advice, and suspend sharing with coachee what they think is best for them. And you want to avoid those conversations. And ICF, for example, is quite strict about that. You know, if the coachee is stuck and they cannot generate their own solutions, we don't provide solutions. Then it's our job to find a different way to encourage them to discover their own solutions. So like that chart that I showed at the beginning, right? It's ask rather than tell, and it's ask about the solutions, and it has to come from the coachee. So they are quite strict about that. So it's not very often that like coaching and counseling will be taught in a similar way, because the process within the session would be different. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Yana. What about the second question? What credentials can I use after completing this graduate diploma?
Right, so you can use the ICF portfolio pathway to become ICF accredited coach. Of course, you do have to do your hours before that. Okay, so you do have to do your practical hours before you can then apply to ICF. Of course, you have your graduate diploma as well, so you know it can boost your CV quite nicely. How can you use coaching? You don't have to become a professional coach. Okay. And I think this is really important to understand. Coaching is a skill that can be used with anyone, anywhere. You might be engaged in coaching conversations with your children, with your partner, with your team at work. For example, we were doing training with PayPal recently, and the whole organization is looking into adapting a coaching mindset. Okay. What does that mean? A coaching mindset is, as a leader, let's say I go to work as a leader, I don't necessarily engage in coaching sessions with my employees. I mean, who's got time for that, right? However, as a leader with a coaching mindset, you will stay curious. So if somebody comes to you and says, hey, boss, should I do A or should I do B? Instead of telling somebody, hey, why don't you just go do A? You will say, oh, why are you offering me A and B and not C and D? What made you choose A and B? Right? And you're encouraging them to start thinking like, well, what do you think is better, A or B? Why do you think it's better? Because most leaders complain that people don't think outside of the box, Most leaders complain that they don't, people don't generate their own solutions. Well, yeah, true, but that's because we don't give them the opportunity to. And the education system doesn't always support that kind of thinking. So developing a coaching mindset goes beyond just conducting a coaching session of an hour. It's how you approach conversations, in how you approach human development in general, whether that's your family or whether that's in the workplace. So I feel that coaching is an essential part of any leader's toolbox, any parent's toolbox as well, and hopefully this will foster better relationships going forward. I mean, that's just my opinion on that.
Mm. Thanks, Yana. Maybe I'll answer the rest of the questions because they are more enrollment related. Yes, the January intake is still open. There are still a few places left. So if you're interested, after this talk, do connect with the consultant that has been in touch with you, and we'll be happy to share more about how you can enroll. Our classes conducted on weekdays. Most of the lessons are conducted on weekdays, maybe about maximum only twice a week from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. But there are some modules with classes over a few weekends, yeah, because some of the modules are conducted like a workshop. So that's why it will be a full day on a Saturday and a Sunday. Yeah, and we'll be happy to share the schedule with you after this talk. And can I pay by installment? Yes, if you hold certain credit cards, we do offer interest-free installment plans of up to 36 months. And the banks that we are working with include UOB, HSBC, Maybank, POSB, DBS, as well as Standard Chartered Bank. Thank you, Yati, for your questions, as well as from Eliza.
By the way, Kim, thank you for knowing all of this. I'm glad I didn't have to answer those questions because I don't know how. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here.
You're most welcome. Yeah.
Yeah. So any other questions about the coaching or any of the content as well that I can help with? While you're thinking, I was just reflecting, when my colleague Pekai, because her and I conduct quite a lot of coaching workshops together, and I'm just not even sure why we don't have these skills in schools. They teach you all kinds of stuff in school, but they don't teach you basic skills of how do we bring out the best in other people, and how do we bring out the best in ourselves as well. And I think that's really essential for us to be able to thrive and flourish as human beings.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Kim, do you have more questions?
Or maybe some of the questions that popped up, when I had discussions with prospective students is how different is this coaching program compared to other coaching programs?
I think the biggest difference is the psychology lens. Okay, I mean, we do have to follow certain ICF competencies, ethics, all that stuff that I mentioned at the beginning. I mean, that's really important. And that's essential. However, most courses do not introduce psychology into that. They don't go into the neuroscience, they don't go into human motivations, cognitions, emotions, which are essential. And we really feel that having that understanding of psychology simply makes you a better coach in so many ways. It takes you from being good to excellent, right? So I think that's really important. I think the difference is also the academic rigor behind a course, which is very important, right? We are committed to evidence-based strategies. So everything that will be taught at the course is grounded in science. Our practitioners and our faculty are both in the academic world. So they're not just coaches. A lot of coaching courses have coaches. And they're great coaches, don't get me wrong, right? But what we are also integrating is faculty that has other qualities like being positive psychology practitioners like Robert, or therapists themselves as well, so that they understand the difference between therapy and coaching, and they can actually help coaches discern when a coaching session is on the brink of becoming a therapy session. And that's really important, right? As a coach, you need to know, when do you flag something? When do you say, you know what, this is no longer a coaching session, this is crossing over into therapy, may I recommend that you go see somebody else? And that's a skill that we need to have as a coach, and that's really important for that ethical side of stuff, and for being able to be responsible for other human beings.
Mm.
Yeah.
And thanks, Hilary. There's a question from Hilary, Yana.
Oh, yes. So there is no entry requirement for this program that says that you need to have a background in psych and counseling or coaching. And we are aware that we will have coaches in this program who will be taking on this program to have the psychology part of stuff. But we will also have loads of students with no coaching background at all, or psychology background for that matter, right? Which is why we feel that that module of applied positive psychology is really important, because that gives you the foundation of understanding some of the basic models and principles of it, so that you feel more confident around it. You know, we do recommend, for example, for students to do the coaching foundation, which is with Sam, in January, before they dive into Robert's positive psychology coaching. Because they will get more out of the other module then, because it will be at a deeper level and at the next level as well. But there's no expectations of students to have background knowledge, if that answers. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Hilary, for your question. Just one more question, Yana, because I think yeah, I've encountered such shall I say, confusion, yeah, from my prospective students before. Like, if let's say they want to go into a profession to help others, how to decide whether they should take a counseling course versus a coaching course?
That's a good question. I need to think about that for a moment. I think I mean, honestly, you could probably do both, because that would cover the spectrum. But I think it comes down to your own life philosophy and how you see people. Like I'm a better coach. I would not be a good counselor. I don't think so, because I really see people as able and competent and confident and full of their own solutions and potential. And I want to challenge myself to see how to bring out the best in them. Hey, Sky's here, and she's a counselor and a therapist. Sky, what do you think?
Hey, hi. Sorry, I wouldn't have my camera on because I'm outside, right? But if I could give like my own
Yeah,
opinion,
please do.
I think it's in terms of also the target audience that you're looking at. So because some people I know, becoming a therapist, they're unable to so-called park their emotions outside the door, right? And sometimes it gets too much or a lot. So if I could use an analogy, if you enjoy or you find meaning in helping people pull them out of a rut, that's more counseling psychotherapy, where you're dealing with people who are struggling with mental health. And then if you're looking at more coaching, these people, given enough time, they are actually able to handle struggles and obstacles. They don't necessarily require facilitation from a talk therapy, right, sessions. So it's more about helping people excel, perform, becoming better, talking about thriving, flourishing, becoming better versions of themselves. Yeah, so I hope the analogy helps. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
my take. Yeah, thanks.
Super helpful, Sky. Thank you. That's a really good way of putting it. You know, what's the audience? Like for me, I like working with people who are on that between 0 to 10 and taking them towards 10, right? That just works for me. So yeah, thank you, Sky. Thank you for jumping in and helping me out.
Thank you. Thanks, Sky, for helping. And thanks, Yana, for your answer. Okay, there are two more questions from Aisha and Lisa in the chat box.
How many ICF hours can be used from this course? So Robert's positive psychology coaching has hours. I think it's 30 hours. Is that right, Karen? That's already with ICF. So that is a separate. So that's continuous credits, right? That you have once you're ICF accredited, and that can go towards that. However, you still do need to clock your 60 hours of, 100 hours of practice, right? So you can use that. So it's kind of starting from scratch when it comes to ICF. All of obviously the courses are aligned with ICF requirements, and you can use Robert's positive psychology coaching later for continuous development. But you will still need to do your 100 hours of actual coaching sessions. Does that make sense? Okay. And Elisa's got a question. If I'm already a life coach myself and would like to adjust the applied positive, is there something like that? Yeah, I mean, if you are, let's say, an already ICF accredited coach, you can have exemption from the modules that are specifically ICF modules. So for example, you can be exempt from coaching foundation, ethics and mentoring, which is part of the ICF requirements. Then you can do the psychology modules. So you can do the applied positive psychology, coaching psychology, and positive psychology coaching. And you can still then graduate with a graduate diploma in coaching psychology. Or, for example, if you are satisfied with being a coach already with your coaching skills, you can then consider doing graduate diploma in applied positive psychology, which will then really only focus on the positive psychology part of things rather than the coaching side, if that makes sense. And I'm sure Kim and other consultants can share more information.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can either go for this graduate diploma in coaching psychology with exemptions because you already are a accredited coach, or you can choose to join our graduate diploma in applied positive psychology, which is also a 6-month program. And this program focuses totally and completely on positive psychology modules. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I'm happy to share more about as well, if we need to. Okay, thanks, Elisa. Any other questions from anyone that we can address around coaching? I'm just curious, how many of you are already coaches? Elisa is. Anyone else already a coach? Okay, Elisa, just a question. What do you love about coaching so far?
Hi, sorry, I'm actually outside right now. But I only just got certified recently. So, but the helping people part and also the positive future-oriented part is really very rewarding for me. Yeah, like what you said in the beginning of your sharing today, the number 2 is really what coaching is, and it's also aligned with my personal aspirations as well. So yeah, I would encourage people who interested in this to find out more.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Elisa. I love that. So it's your personal aspiration. And yeah, it is future oriented, right? And like I said, it doesn't mean we don't explore the past, but we focus on the future, and we focus on the coachee creating the future that they want to have. Yeah, so thank you for sharing that. Any other questions? Anything else that we can help with? Kim, any other thoughts from your end?
Not really. Yeah, maybe the last point. Maybe you could share a little bit more about the lecturers that will be in this program.
Okay, so we have a few lectures that will be teaching the applied positive psychology. It could be me, or it could be other lecturers as well who are positive psychology practitioners in their own right. For coaching psychology, the lecturer is a therapist as well as a coach, and has done a lot of, and I think that's really interesting because of the self-exploration part of things, and believes very much in experiential learning. And this lecturer is a coach in their own right, as well as a therapist. Sam, as I mentioned, will be part representing the ICF side of things. And we cannot forget Robert Biswas-Diener, because he's just larger than life. So for those of you who don't know him, he is, like I said, pioneer of positive psychology. His father was Ed Diener, who was one of the founders of positive psychology, and he was the happiness expert and well-being expert. And Robert brings a whole different lens to this, because he challenges the way that we think. He has a very unique way of looking at the world. And what I love about Robert the most is I always walk away slightly confused, intrigued, curious, and then I have to explore more and come up with my own solutions. And I love that about Robert. He will challenge you on everything that you believe is the status quo. And I think that's where growth happens. And I really appreciate that. Every conversation I walked away from with Robert has taught me something. So I think I'm really proud. I think probably I'm really proud of the faculty part, just because they're so diverse, and just because they bring such different experiences to this curriculum. And I think that makes it very unique. Yeah.
Yes, I totally agree about Robert. And I took his lessons, and I've heard only good things from all my students who have attended his classes. And even though they've attended once, they were happy to attend it another time, because Robert brings with him the latest updates on coaching techniques, etc. So there's always something new to learn from him.
Very, very true. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for that question.
Thank you. So is there any other questions? Are there any other questions before we wrap up today's session?
I do have, so we've done the Q&A. I would like to bother you for a moment, if you can spare a minute. Would really appreciate your feedback, because we're also always striving to find out. We love feedback. Feedback is a gift, by the way, because we want to get better. We want to learn more about what would be helpful to you to know more of. So thank you so much. Really appreciate you doing the survey. And I want to wish everyone a wonderful weekend. Happy Friday. Remember to plan for joy. Does everybody have the QR code? I can stop sharing. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for joining the session today. Lovely to see you, Aisha. Lovely to see you, Winnie. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a great
Have a
weekend.
good weekend. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks, Yati. Hi, Priscilla.
Thanks, Yachi. Bye-bye. I'll connect with you after this.
Yeah, thank you. Bye, everyone.